All right, here we go. Thank you for hanging in there, children and other adults. We will have snacks later on, but until then, I would tell the children when they would bother me or something, I'd say, hold your water. I even say that to students sometimes. They don't think it's, I thought. We were living in Lensing Gardens. This is where we were managers of this elderly people apartment, and
Brand new.
brand new, and it was good. It was room and board was paid for, and Jimmy was living with us, and I mentioned this, and we had our dog Annie, who was able to live with us also in these apartments. And then we had that earthquake that took place in '89. That was quite an experience. Major earthquake. No one injured. I mean, but we felt it was a big time shaking. I mean, whoa. We lived there for, I think, 3 years in Lensing Gardens. And during this time, Susan was working at a Marcus Manor, small nursing home, privately owned. And while there, she met, that's where you met Viola. She met this woman named Viola. And Viola, I mean, like a godsend for us at the time. And sweet woman, she had some really quirks that were I mean, cute, no problem or anything. She owned a Chevy.
4-door.
No, it wasn't a Corvair.
4-door.
4-door, yeah, sedan. I forget what model it was though. I can't remember. However, she drove this car as a white car, not too far, not too many miles, but one of her quirks was that she never took a right. A left. She never took a left. And I'm like, what do you mean you never took a left, Viola? What are you talking? That's dangerous, and I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable. And so I just go right and come around where I go. Instead of going left, I take a right and I circle. And, okay, that's cool, kind of weird, Yeah, we love you, Viola. And she was married. I'm not sure if she had any children, but that's neither here nor there. But she came to visit somebody in the nursing home that Susan was working at. And through her visits and coming in, Susan and her got to talk, and it became friendly. They had a good relationship. And she really loved Susan. I mean, and she'd come over to the house, I think, where we lived to eat or to visit. And you could just tell that she thought a lot of Susan. Anyway, she she had a home that I don't know if it was her family home or.
No, it was hers and her husband's.
Yeah, she had a husband, and it was her and her husband living in this house, right? Did they live in the house?
Yes.
Okay, Susan's so helpful to me. But they were moving for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know where you're going.
No, she offered us to live in the house.
No, not her house.
Oh, no, that's what I meant. She owned another house, right? Is that it?
She was...
All right, with Viola, the reason she had this other house was the lady who lived in the nursing home that she would visit and who she had been taking care of for a number of years passed away. And in her will, she gave the house to Viola. So here's Viola now, a homeowner with no clients, no renters. And she knew that through Mommy, that it would be nice to live in a house and have a garden and so forth. And so she offered the house to us at a very, very reasonable rent. I mean, one you know, an offer you can't refuse. So we ended up moving out of Lenzen Gardens with Jimmy to Singletary Avenue. In fact, it was only a couple of blocks from Lenzen Gardens. And
1149.
yeah, 1149.
Camino.
And it was right off El Camino, the maiden drag of
That was
the
off
Norwalk.
Alameda.
And
Is it El Camino?
she,
I think it was El Camino.
we lived there for about 3 years, 4 years there. And Mommy continued working, and I continued working, and things were good. We were happy, you know, living there. And Viola got sick, I guess, and she got very sick and ended up in the hospital, and she passed away. And anyway, the house in Singletary was offered to us, but by the sister who now had the house. Viola's sister said she wanted to sell it for X amount of dollars, which was market price, and it was high. It's California, high for us. And also in the meantime, Susan's dad was, you know, wanted Susan to come to Florida just to be with them. His wife Olga, Susan's stepmother, Susan's stepmother was ill. And we left. We left California in 1993. We moved to Florida, and here we are in Florida at a place called Ocean Ridge, Florida, and beautiful homes or apartments for snowbirds, basically, and elderly. We're you know, one of the things too that I played, I just remembered, I got to play senior softball every once in a while. I got on a team in California on Saturdays. And Saturday morning, we'd go to the park in, it wasn't in San Jose, it was south of San Jose, where Joey worked, Pruneyard. What was the name of that?
Campbell?
Campbell, in Campbell, California, yes, thank you. And I got on a team, and it was slow pitch softball, 50 and over. And I was just 50 years old at the time. This would have been 1990, right? Yeah, 1990. And the team I got on, I played the outfield. And we won our league this one year that I was on, first year. And a lot of fun doing that, playing softball. And then I did a little bit of that in Florida too. When we moved, I was able to play a couple of one summer maybe. I don't know, not that long.
And you mentored a lot of those team players.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you did.
The guy.
You told me all the stories.
I had one player called up. He says, "Man, McGorry, you played that outfield, you know," and I was fast, I was quick, and I made some nice catches, you know, good plays. And he was in the outfield with me. He was a right fielder, I think, and kind of a, you know, cool. I thought it was pretty cool. But how do you do that? He says, "Man, maybe you could help me out a little bit. How do you make those when you make those catches and all?" And I laughed at myself because I don't know, Brad. You know, I just. Anyway, it was fun. I just want to mention that because it's about me. This is about me, not about you. So you can ask questions later. Okay, where are we? We're moving to Florida. We're in Florida now, and the year is 93. We're working. Susan working. She has she had a good position with inspector for the state. Checking nursing homes and hospitals or
all health facilities.
All health facilities in a certain area, and they were working for the state they were in. She started in California, and she worked in Florida for the 6 years. How many years were we in Florida?
We left in
8 years. We were 8
Wow.
years. So
2001.
8 years, and that was she loved the job.
I did.
That helped. And I was teaching. I loved the job, so we were two lovers. Not only did we love our jobs, but we loved each other. Now that's another thing to talk about. Turn to your person sitting next to you and say, "I love you." No, don't do that. Only kidding. Oh, you could do it here. I love you.
I love you.
Love you too.
I love you.
Love you. Love you.
Who's that? Oh, that's she worked for Alchema. Yeah. So we had Olga passed away in '94, and then in '97, Pop Gage passed away.
We had the memorial.
And we had a memorial for him. That was a nice. We have it on video for him, and that was nice. And then we stayed another 4 years. And in '01, let's see. My dad passed away in '93. And just before we were getting ready to move to Florida, he passed away. And that was a tough situation. That was tough for me and for my sister and brother also. He was a good person, really good person. And I regret not having a better relationship with him when I was younger. And just a reminder, young people, parents, God's word says to love your parents, listen to your mother, love them. And it doesn't have to, if you're not in God's word, it's just the right thing to do. So please, for your own benefit, family is so important, because right now, look what a privilege it is for my wife and I, Susan and I, to be able to do this. And we're doing this because our children want us to do it. And so we're living a 3-4 day old little, the last 4 days with Katie here.
A tribute to our family.
Yes, tribute. Yep. Anyway, okay, thank you. Back again, and here we are, the McGorry family. That's still close by, which is Jimmy, or our son Jimmy. He bought an apartment in Florida, and he lived in his own apartment for a while, and he did well. He worked construction for a while, and then he went to computers when they were starting their, the internet thing, and got himself, made some money on the stock market. I remember that. And he was able to pay off his apartment, which was pretty cool. He bought it. He had bought it.
9/11, the pilot was one of his neighbors.
Oh, yeah. 9/11, now y'all remember 9/11. Anyway, in 9/11, he lived in this complex, elderly complex, or not elderly, but no, it wasn't. It was an adult complex, but he lived in a second floor apartment, and then where the other right next, the building next to him, in the first floor apartment, was this Muslim guy, and he had a motorcycle, I think, and anyway, this is this one year, and this guy came, and he lived there. He was single, and Jimmy was single, and they got talking, blah blah blah, and they kind of became friendly neighbors, and they went out a couple of times together, and single guys, and just went out, And Jimmy, didn't think much of it. He had to work. He was working, and this guy was working too, I guess. But 9/11 comes along, and this one day after, not a couple, maybe a week after 9/11, if that, Jimmy comes out of he hadn't seen them. He hadn't seen his friend, and I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, but there were police or a lot of cars around the guy's apartment, and they were taking stuff out, or there's a lot of movement going on. And Jimmy found out that this guy wasn't around anymore. And then, long story short, he was he was part of the scheme that killed, thousands of Americans. He was living and the reason he was in Florida down there was he was taking pilot lessons. And supposedly one of the pilots, and Jimmy knows his name, and I can't remember it anyway. But kind of a wow, here Jimmy was friend. This guy all this time was, conspiracy or conspiring to, do what they did. How horrible. 9/11. Okay. Jimmy goes to Florida. Jimmy ends up going to Long Island, meets this girl, and he gets married to this girl from Long Island, and that's where he is today. He's living in Long Island. He has 3 children, and he works for a large corporation.
The hospitals.
Yeah.
The girl's name is Rachel.
His wife's name is Rachel. Hi, Rachel. And James, Evie, and Charlie.
Yeah.
Hi, James,
And
Evie,
Adam.
Charlie, and the dog, Adam. Okay. All right, just to wrap up our life in Florida, which we enjoyed very much, the beach and the pool and the sunshine
Pelicans
and
sandpipers.
the different birds, pelicans. We made plans to move to Pennsylvania. One of the reasons was that I felt it was geographically closer to the rest of the family that was scattered, that we could be closer to our families. And I checked the schools, and our daughter Tracy, who would be living nearby where we were thinking of moving to, she went to a church, Bible-believing church, and they had a Christian school, and this was 01. They were looking for some high school teachers. So I made a trip up to Pennsylvania in 01. I taught in California till June of 01. That was my last teaching class there.
Taught in Florida.
In Florida. I'm sorry, in Florida. Yeah, gosh.
Trying to keep track.
June of 01 in Florida was my last class. And between June and when we actually physically moved, I went up to Pennsylvania for an interview, and then Susan came with me also. Was interviewed, was offered a teaching job at this Christian school, and at the same time we went looking for a place to live. A couple of places didn't work out, but we ended up living here in Melody Lakes, where we are now. And in August of 01, we physically moved, to Pennsylvania. The children were scattered around Joey was in North Carolina. Katie was in Wisconsin. I think Susie was in Wisconsin. Was she in Michigan then? I can't remember. 01. Michigan. And Katie was in Wisconsin. And Jimmy was in, where was Jimmy?
Long Island.
Jimmy was in Long Island, yeah. Jimmy had been living with us in Florida, and then he moved to Long Island, and I said he got married to Rachel. Excuse me. Okay, we get to Pennsylvania. We find an apartment to rent. The ironic thing about this apartment, this is, I think Susan mentioned it too, but it took me 1 minute by car. And for part of that minute, I could actually coast down the hill and then start the car. How about that, children? And then for the last 30 seconds, drive into the school parking lot. That is how close we were to the school when we first moved.
Then I got peed on.
Okay? But if I walked, now this was something if I walked, okay? 7 minutes to get to school by walking. And it wasn't easy because there were some winter, you know what I mean? Sometimes I couldn't just coast down the hill because of the weather. I had to start the car from the house and spend that minute full, drive all the way. But no, it was fun. It was kind of cool. I mean, what can I tell you? It was an apartment, first floor. We had good neighbors the first time we were there. When we were there a while, for about a year, so maybe not even a year. This couple, they moved out. Got married. Then we had a problem with the next neighbor coming in. It was a young man who was dying, which we didn't know at the fact, but he had a bad reputation. He was mean. I think he was just tried to talk to him, and we couldn't really talk to him. And Susan tried to be friendly with him, and he urinated on her from the second floor. Don't laugh, it's not funny.
There were slaps.
He tried to urinate on her.
No, he did.
He did. It's a true story,
On
John.
purpose.
True story.
Slats.
But anyway, we were there in that apartment for 3 years. And he only did it once, though. But
Okay, drop it.
2, 3.
we'll move on. When we moved, got ready to move from Florida to Pennsylvania, we owned the apartment. I mean, that's when we originally moved there, it wasn't a rental. It was we moved and bought the apartment, and so
condo.
we had to make a decision: are we going to sell it? Are we going to sell it, or are we going to rent it? So we decided to rent it, and we happened to have we kept the apartment. I mean, under our name, owned the apartment till 2017. I mean, that's every year. We were absentee landlord. I don't recommend absentee landlordism. No way. No. Anyway. Had good renters over the years and no problem because there were certain restrictions that every owner had, and the people who did, we had about 3 or 4 different renters that for those 16 years approximately that we had kept the apartment. And the last renter created a problem. Was a young man, but he had been living in the complex at another apartment. And I checked it. I got information from the people who lived around him in one of the other apartments. His first name is, could be was, because someone might have shot him. No. Anyway, his first name is Peter, and calls us up, and very, very cordial, very respectful, told me, and I believed he was telling me the truth. He had a job, he was single, he had a girlfriend, and they were selling the apartment he was in, but he wanted to stay in the complex, and ours was available. We put an ad on the bulletin board in the mail room, that we had the apartment for rent. And after checking him out, so forth and so on, and he was originally from Maryland. Gave us the upfront deposit. Signed the contract, and the first 3 years, it was a total of about 3 years he rented the place. First 2.5 or 3.5 years, really no problem. I mean, he was there 24/7. We had some issues with getting some things fixed. It wasn't his fault. I think the air conditioner went or something. We had to do something. But it seemed to work out all right. And he paid. It was deposited right into our account, and we got it. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And then find out that he got laid off, or he got another. And I tried to talk to him. He wouldn't answer the phone. Wouldn't talk to me. And and so eventually we had to evict him. Had to get the legal papers. You'll be out by such and such a date, or I'll have the sheriff come and evict you, and it'll be on your resume. So people, like we've talked about a number of times, pay your bills. Don't get yourself in a situation like you know all that, don't you? I hope so. Anyway, in 2017 we sold the apartment. So our life in Florida lasted from 2001 to 2017, 16 years of Florida total. We would go down in the summertime once in a while if the apartment was empty, and get the okay from the people, look it over or something. But let's see. So I just stand corrected a little bit because of my math. Total time in Florida was 24 years. Okay. 24 years in Florida total. But we had 16 years of absentee landlord. 16 years there. So I just wanted to correct that. Thank you. You're such a good audience. If you come up with some corrections, all right, and before you leave, just check with the cashier, and they'll give you add the discount to if you're watching this at a theater.
We have so many good connections. Clotheslines.
Okay, where are we now? We're in Pennsylvania. Where we are now today. Okay, 2001 we moved to Pennsylvania. We lived in that apartment that was close to the school for about 3 years, and then we eventually moved into where we are now. Took a little while, but we moved in there, And children, I think I told you, were kind of scattered around. Right now, an update on the children. Jimmy's in Wisconsin. Tracy is here with us in Quakertown area. Katie is in Wisconsin, near Madison, McFarland, Wisconsin. She's a school teacher. Tracy works at a bank. She works in compliance. She has major responsibilities. And
Jimmy's in Long
Jim-
Island.
Jimmy's
You
in
said
Lo-
he was in Wisconsin.
did I? Jimmy is in Long Island. Yeah, he's in Long Island, and he works with for a large corporation that.
North Shore.
Northwell. Northwell.
Yeah. And a hospital, a computer programmer, manager. He has a responsible job, but he's a good worker.
Joey.
And Joey works he moved from Arizona to here about 2-3 years ago, and he's in the Reading, Pennsylvania area, only about a little over an hour from here. So that's been a blessing to us.
Yeah.
And that's what's
What
been going on.
about where Joey
And
was?
I taught school from taught in Pennsylvania from 01 to 22 years. I retired this June. I retired, so I'm retired right now. So
Susie.
I could use a rocking chair if you have one. Let's see.
Susie.
I
Susie.
I wear my favorite shoes. I wear. They're good shoes. I like them. I wear them when I'm sitting. That's kind of different because people say I like to wear my shoes for walking. I wear my favorite shoes for sitting because I'm retired now.
What year? What?
Let's see. Our daughter Susie also. My goodness, Susie lives in. Oh my goodness, Susie. She's a traveler. Oh, we traveled as a married couple. What did we say, hon? 12 times.
What? May 26th.
Huh?
What year did you get saved?
1978.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. Just as a couple, 12 times. Right?
Oh,
Didn't you
as
tell me
we
that? We're trying to do a little cleanup here because time's running out here. We all have limitations. That's a good word. I just saw it.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
I love our family. And this is basically who it's for, because I'm sure stuff that I'm saying is going to bore the dickens out of a lot of people if they want to
14
start.
times.
14 times we moved. Okay. Okay. I guess, I've been I retired, and Susan's retired with me. And our days are different. I love them. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess it's going to be a little difficult when when school starts at the end of August, first week in September for me.
93, 73.
Okay, is that it? Should I just? Okay, I'm on. And just say a few final words to what's going on. I would like us to think about where you are, your own personal life, and I love the Lord, and I just believe in by faith that what He has to you know, what he's done for me, you know, since talking about me and how I've been blessed, and that's for everyone. I'm as you know, undeserving as any of us, and for you to just we talked about, while I've been mentioning this, I try to tell you certain things that try to how to live and what to do, and or what you should do, and only God can really change you if you want to change. I mean, I know I have some areas of my life that I need to change, even though at my age, even. So, just love others, love yourself, okay, and just stay strong, walk the path, the right path. You know, the path of morality or the path of the Lord. You know, I'm not. I'd love to see you all know the Lord Christ as your Savior. I mean, that would be awesome, but that's not going to happen. And but you have a choice to make, and whatever that choice is, you're still loved by God. He created you, okay, and He loves you by his son, through his son Jesus. All right. Okay. Look up. Don't look down. Look up. And remember, don't bend, bow, or buckle. Love you. Katie, Tracy, Susie, Joe, Jim. I love you guys.